Nora Wynne heard the river before she saw it, a silver hush threading through ponderosa pines and boulders the size of cabins. The Silver Stream fly fishing retreat sat at the terminus of a rutted road 40 miles from the nearest Montana town, hidden like a myth in the folds of the Bitterroot Range. Her editor at Wild Ways magazine wanted 8 glossy pages on luxury in waders, but as the Subaru bounced over the last cattle guard, Nora already felt the tug of something knottier than trout on a line. The lodge revealed itself in fragments, a cedar-shingled roof, wrap-around decks crowded with rocking chairs, a flagstone path leading to an amphitheatre of water and stone. The stream widened just beyond, gathering speed until it vaulted a black granite ledge and exploded into mist. Locals called that cataract Angel's Vale. Fly fishers called it the Promised Pool. Nora parked beside 3 trucks plastered with stickers: Trout Unlimited, Keep Public Lands Public, Whiskey Makes Me Fish Better, and stepped into air so clean it seemed medicinal. She was still stretching road-stiff limbs when a woman in a glacier blue guide shirt strode toward her. "Miss Wynne, Madison Hale. Welcome to Silver Stream." The owner's handshake was firm, almost competitive. Madison was early 40s, sun-freckled, with copper hair coiled under a ball cap. "I hope the drive didn't scare you off." "I've survived Sicilian switchbacks," Nora said, shrugging her duffel onto one shoulder. "This road was practically a red carpet." "Love that attitude," Madison gestured to the porch. "Let me introduce the rest of the weekend's crew before you settle in." Nora saw 5 guests sipping iced tea around a driftwood table. A lanky couple in matching Patagonia, a tech bro whose watch probably cost more than Nora's car, and a grandmotherly birder in neon binocular straps. Last was a man in waders leaning against the railing, river water stippling his boots. Even at rest he looked kinetic, like a coil of energy about to spring. "This is Owen Beck, our head guide," Madison said. "Best caster in 3 counties, maybe 6. "Evidence pending," Owen replied, tipping his cap at Nora. Slate blue eyes, laugh lines cut deep by sun and wind. "You'll be with me tomorrow, Miss Wynne. We'll put you on fish, promise. Call me Nora." She noticed a thin scar on Owen's jaw, the kind left by wire or hook. It gave him an outlaw edge that would read well in her story. Editors liked characters with texture. Introductions blurred, dinner followed, elk medallions, huckleberry pie, craft beer brewed with glacier melt, and Nora retired to her cabin by the secondary creek, lulled by frogs and wind. She set an alarm for dawn rises, but the river woke her first, roaring louder than before. She stepped onto the porch and stiffened. A single shriek sliced the stillness, echoing off granite. Then silence. Nora yanked on jeans and boots and followed the path skirting Angel's Vale. Mist sprayed her face, cold as sleet, as she rounded a bend where guests clustered, pale and shaking. Madison Hale knelt at water's edge, hands pressed to her mouth. The birder clutched a camp towel like a talisman. Beyond them, half submerged in the foaming pool, lay Owen Beck, arms splayed, fishing line webbed around his torso like a grotesque net. His guide shirt fluttered against slick rocks. One boot was missing. Someone, maybe Madison, waded in, grasped Owen's vest, tried to haul him free. The line tightened, anchoring his body to the plunge pool sluice. Nora glimpsed hooks glinting along his sleeves, some buried in skin. The water roared louder, or her pulse did. An hour later, Ravalli County deputies draped yellow tape across angel-carved stones. The guests were herded to the dining hall for statements. Nora sat with a styrofoam cup of coffee gone stale, notebook on the table, though her hands shook too hard to write. The sheriff, a beefy man named Cal Granger, cleared his throat. "Looks accidental," he said. "Mr. Beck probably slipped from the casting rock, got tangled in his own gear. That waterfall's a death trap when the melt's high." Madison's eyes were red-rimmed. Owen knew those rocks blindfolded. He wouldn't— Her voice cracked. He wouldn't make that rookie mistake. Sheriff Granger's gaze flicked to the tech bro, the couple, the birder, then landed on Nora. "You the journalist?" she nodded. "Please be mindful what you print. Families left behind." Nora's stomach knotted. Journalism, tragedies deserve care. But her inner compass hummed. Stories hid beneath official narratives like trout under cut banks. Owen's death was too cinematic. Hooks, waterfall, sunrise scream, to fit the sheriff's neat box. Back in her cabin, she reread her jotted fragments. Tangled in multiple lines, not just his own. Missing boot. Current would carry downstream, but deputies didn't search. Scream sounded female. Which guest found him? Nora swallowed guilt with river-filtered air. She'd come for puff piece. Now she stalked a possible crime scene. Was that exploitation or obligation? Either way, her instincts had teeth. She started with the timeline. Yesterday evening, Owen had guided the Patagonia couple, Rachel and Kurt Landry. After dinner, Nora saw him cleaning reels near the shed, chatting with the birder, Mrs. Finn, about osprey nests. At 10, the lodge fell quiet. Sometime between then and dawn, he'd walked back to Angel's Vale. Why? She strode to the gear shack. Inside, the smell of waxed canvas and river mud mingled with cedar. Rods hung in numbered racks, each slot tagged with a guest's name. Owen's rack was empty except for a spare 9-foot rod. She ran fingers over its cork handle, then froze. The reel seat was sticky. She sniffed metallic tang. Fish blood? No. Machine oil. But the oil shimmered iridescent, like gasoline on water. An additive? Footsteps approached. Nora pivoted as Madison entered, eyes puffy. "Sorry, I should have asked permission," Nora said. Madison waved it off. Gears communal, except the prototypes. Prototypes? Owen was testing a new high-tensile line for Clearwater tackle. He'd planned to showcase it for them next week, maybe score a sponsorship. Madison sank onto a wooden stool. Now, Nora hesitated. Was anyone jealous of that opportunity? Owen made friends, not enemies. Even with clients, big fish bring big egos. Madison studied her. "You think someone hurt him?" "I think accidents wear masks." Madison exhaled. "If you're right, dig it up. Owen deserved oceans better than death on a hook." Afternoon sun baked the lodge deck while deputies combed upstream. Nora saw them pluck Owen's missing boot from an eddy near the boat ramp. She leaned closer. The shoelaces were fused together by a translucent goop. Epoxy? Resin? Fishing glue sealed knots fast, but guides knew never to smear laces. They needed to slip free if caught. On impulse, she approached Sheriff Granger. "Find anything interesting in that boot?" "Rubber, mud, river slime," he grunted. "Laces are glued. Current does weird things." "So do people," she muttered. He narrowed eyes. "I appreciate concern, Ms. Wynne, but let us handle the investigation." "There is no investigation. You ruled accident." "Because that's what it is." Nora tempered her glare. "Then you won't mind me asking the guests a few background questions for my article. Stay clear of speculation." Speculation was lifeblood. She walked away before her temper broke. That evening, a hush engulfed the lodge. No one touched their trout almondine. Rain slapped windows like thrown gravel. The tech bro, Damon Cho, scrolled his phone until Madison snapped that there was no service unless you hiked to the overlook. He trudged out in the storm. Nora cornered Mrs. Finn near the fireplace. "You were birding by the falls this morning?" "Yes." The older woman's voice trembled. "Dawn chorus is prime time. I saw Wilson's warblers then." She clasped trembling fingers. A shape in the water, hooks shimmering like silver feathers. "Did you scream?" Mrs. Finn nodded. I wish I hadn't. Waking to beauty, ending in terror. Poor boy." She wiped tears and retreated, leaving Nora with burning questions. If Finn arrived first, why was there fresh footprint, size 11, etched on the casting rock? And why hadn't the sheriff bagged that boot print? Rain eased near midnight. Nora slipped from her cabin with a headlamp and marched to Angel's Vale. Mist hung like ghost breath. She knelt where Owen's body had been and swept light across the granite lip. The footprint still stood, rimmed by mud, tread pattern forming interlocking hexagons. She compared her own boot, vertical stripes. Madison's. She wore women's Keens. Damon's high-end wading shoes? Possible. Kurt Landry's? Also hexagon vibram. Nora photographed the print, angled for scale, then searched along the bank. A glint between reeds stopped her. She parted stalks and lifted a small plastic vial labelled ISOX 21. The cap was cracked, vial empty. She sniffed. Acrid chemical perfume lingered. Something you wouldn't expect at a fly-fishing idyll. Lightning flickered in the west. Nora pocketed the vial and hurried back. She slept little. At breakfast, Chef Maria served chokecherry scones no one ate. Sheriff Granger announced he'd finished statements, clearing guests to leave once the access road dried. Madison slammed her mug. "You can't broom this under river rocks." "Autopsy will confirm drowning," Granger replied. "His lungs were full." Nora asked, "Full of water or water and isoxazoline?" Granger frowned. "What's that?" "A pesticide treatment. Fishermen use topical solutions on wader seams to repel ticks, but ISOX 21. She placed the vial on the table. "Never heard of it." The room quieted. Granger reached for the vial. Nora blocked him. "Chain of custody, Sheriff. You ignored evidence yesterday. How about we do this right?" His jaw worked, but he produced a bag. Madison stared at Nora like a lifeline. "Where did you find that?" "In reeds by the pool. Whoever dropped it wore size 11 vibrams." Kurt Landry stiffened. Rachel touched his arm. Damon Cho leaned forward. "ISOX 21, he mused aloud. "Could be isoeugenol derivative. Danica Biofarm sells it for fisheries. Creates mild paralysis in trout, so rich clients feel like experts when they reel them in." He shrugged at their stares. "I invest in biotech startups." Madison's eyes flashed fury. "We do not drug trout. This river's wild." Damon raised palms. "Just theory." But Nora watched Kurt Landry. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead. "Mind if I see your boots?" she asked. Kurt glanced at Sheriff Granger. The sheriff, irritated by Nora's commandeering, said, "Voluntary only?" Kurt swallowed. I lost one yesterday crossing the side channel." "Just one?" Nora asked. "Yeah," Madison said. "Owen found a lost boot 2 weeks ago, size 11. That wasn't yours?" "No, mine's different brand." Rachel squeezed his arm harder. Nora sensed rip current beneath the marriage facade. She pivoted. "Rachel, you seemed upset with Kurt last night. It's a stressful trip." She complained he was obsessed, Kurt shot back. "With what?" Nora asked. Silence. Finally, Rachel exhaled. My husband's startup developed a synthetic fly pattern impregnated with scent attractants, patent pending. He hoped Owen would endorse it. Nora turned to Kurt. You pitched him? After dinner, Owen refused, said our flies were performance-enhanced cheating. We argued. I stormed off. What time? 10ish. Nora pegged his timeline against Lodge quiet hour. Anyone see you afterward? I walked upstream to cool off. Alone, with a vial of fish dope? He licked lips. No, look, I'm not a killer. Boot print matches yours, Nora said. Damon interjected. Hold on, Vibram hexagons are common, mine match too. He lifted a foot. Hexagons, size 10. Granger grunted. Speculation gone wild. Unless you've got hard evidence, Ms. Wynne, we're done. Nora evaluated her notes. Evidence circumstantial, motive soft. Gut told her Kurt wasn't the spider. He was the fly, tangled in bigger web. She asked Madison for Owen's cabin key. Inside, rain-cleaned light pooled across gear catalogues, topo maps, a corkboard of photos, Owen smiling with kids casting lines. On the table lay a field notebook, pages brimmed with water heights, hatch cycles, guide fees, then abrupt switch to bullet points dated last month. Hale's directive. Clients must limit out. Strange shipment from Danica Biofarm, unmarked. Tweedle solution clouded tank. Fish lethargic next day. Told M unethical, threatened to quit. Need proof before I go public. Nora's pulse ricocheted. Hale. Madison? She reread. M. Could be Madison or Maria the chef. Or someone else. She boxed photos, notebook, and hiked to the overlook for cell service. Reception hiccuped 1 bar, enough to call her editor. Send background on Danica Biofarm, she asked, and see if they partner with Silver Stream. 10 minutes later, bold news pinged back. Danica had press release, pilot program with Silver Stream to test eco-friendly fish supplements enhancing angler experience. The release dated last Monday, but wasn't public yet, flagged confidential pending field results. Nora's throat dried. Madison lied, or at least withheld. Motive? She returned to the lodge and found Madison on the deck, gazing upriver. Tell me about Danica, Nora said. Madison flinched. You've been busy. So were you. Why keep it secret? She rubbed temples. Because anglers adore purity, but demand instant gratification. I'm drowning in debt, Nora. Fires closed us twice. Pandemic torched the rest. Danica's supplements promised subtle sedation. Fish revive unharmed. They'd pay me 6 figures for the trial. And you recruited Owen? I told him after signing. He hated it. Said I'd ruin the river's soul. We fought. Madison's voice fractured. I promised to end the program. Danica's rep, Cho, arrived to collect data. Damon? She nodded. He invested, yes. And last night? We argued again. I told Owen I'd call Danica to cancel. He went to clear his head. Tears surfaced. Now he's dead. Did you meet him at the falls? No. Did you dose the fish last night? Her silence answered. Nora paced to the railing. Below, Damon Cho loaded duffels into his truck, engine idling. Sheriff Granger chatted with him, oblivious. Nora remembered the sticky reel seat, oil shimmering rainbow like Danica's supplement maybe, and Ice X vial. Madison, I need the supplements. They're in the pump shed, she whispered. Nora sprinted across wet grass. She unlatched the padlock and entered dim chemical musk. Shelves lined with brown bottles. On the floor sat a 5-gallon drum half empty, label ISOX 21 Aqua Sed. Next to it lay latex gloves and measuring syringes. One glove bore a reddish smear, blood. Voices outside, heavy boots, Sheriff Granger's baritone. Nora pocketed the glove and emerged. At that moment Damon Cho appeared, rain jacket zipped, eyes distrustful. Snooping skills impressive, he said, but trespassing on private storage crosses lines. Sheriff Granger said, "What's going on?" Nora held up the glove. "Accessory to manslaughter, maybe murder." She laid out the puzzle. Danica's supplement, illegal sedation, Owen's objection, vial by the waterfall. Damon supplied chemicals, convinced Madison to proceed, but Owen threatened exposure. Cho confronted him before dawn. Struggle ensued. Owen slipped. Cho tried to haul him back, but lines wrapped. Instead of calling for help, he glued his bootlaces, dumped the vial, left him. Damon laughed, brittle. "You've watched too many thrillers." Nora opened the glove, a fragment of fly line embedded in latex, blood speckled. "Your DNA's on this, your chemicals in his lungs. Game over." Granger grabbed the glove, eyes widening. Damon's facade cracked. "Listen, it wasn't. He attacked me. Said I was poisoning the river. He rushed me, lost footing. Water swallowed him. I panicked." Kurt, Rachel, Mrs. Finn, and Madison approached as sirens wind up the access road. Backup deputies summoned by Granger. Madison stared at Damon with bottomless betrayal. "You told me the additive was safe." "It is for fish," Damon rasped. "Humans, less." He didn't resist cuffs. Rain renewed, washing his footprints from the path. 2 days later, sunlight gilded Angel's Vale. Nora sat on the boulder where Owen once coached novices, notebook balanced on her knee. Madison joined, pale but resolute. "I called Danica's CEO," she said. "Cancelled the contract, threatened a lawsuit. We'll go bankrupt, but at least with honor." "Some investors prefer integrity," Nora said. "Feature story like mine might attract them." Madison half smiled. "Won't be gentle reading. It'll be truthful. Owen deserves that." She cast her borrowed rod. The line arced graceful as handwriting, then kissed the water. Moments passed. A trout darted, nipped the fly, released. Nora reeled slack, savouring the clean refusal. Wild things shouldn't be easy to catch. As the current whispered around her boots, she opened a fresh page and wrote, "In rivers, we measure truth the way we measure trout, by the fight it puts up when we try to haul it to surface." At Silver Stream, the biggest catch wasn't fish, but deception, hooked, played, and finally netted by its own tangled line. She looked upstream where glacier runoff glimmered, thinking of Owen Beck, a man who loved water clear and honest. The story would carry his voice, and in doing so, maybe cleanse the stream.